What is up, guys? It is Joe back again talking about the Kansas State Wildcats, and in today's video, we're talking about football again. I feel the excitement. Football season, I know it's still far away, but it is in my soul, and I am ready to discuss. Today's video, if you saw the thumbnail, we were going to cover the top 5 questions or storylines to follow heading into spring football for Kansas State. Now, I did make a previous video about 5 different bold predictions for Kansas State, and I really enjoyed the format, so I wanted to make another one here. And shout out to the 365 guys, the 365 sports guys, for kind of giving the idea of the top 5 storylines, top 5 questions heading into spring football, that is. Shout out to those guys for kind of giving the idea. They did a great job on their video, so be sure and check that out. They covered the entire conference with that and asked the top 5 questions for the Big 12. I'm going K-State specific. So in today's video, that is what we're doing. Before I do get into things, let me remind you, if you like K-State athletics, if you like the channel, if you like seeing my face occasionally, be sure and consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. It does help me out immensely, and it helps us get the videos out there further to see more and more K-State fans of just like you and I. And we get to have a bigger tribe to connect with and communicate with, discussing K-State athletics and everything K-State. But let's start here. The number one storyline, and granted, maybe I shouldn't say the number one storyline. None of these are ordered in a way of like, this is the most important, this is the least important. These are just the 5 questions that came to my mind in this order. Starting off with the wide receiver room. How will K-State's receivers adjust in 2024? Now, last season, that was a huge talking point. I mean, K-State did not have the ability to create separation until they introduced Jace Brown to the starting lineup. And then you still saw issues. I mean, you weren't seeing guys get open and, have much of the area of the field to work with outside of Jace Brown. It was kind of a Jace Brown show. Phillip Brooks, Uncle Phil had a couple of good catches in there, but it wasn't a situation where any of the guys were really explosive or dangerous to the degree of what you were hoping for heading into the season, especially with all the hype surrounding Keegan Johnson. Fast forward to 2024, we've got Keegan Johnson on the roster, who should be healthy. Obviously, he's had some injury issues. But I am pretty high on Keegan Johnson coming into this season, so that's something to follow. Dante Cephas, the former Kent State receiver under Matthew Middleton, as well as Penn State last year, but some people are going to be critical and say, well, he didn't do much at Penn State. Guys, nobody did much at Penn State. That offense was absolutely terrible. So you'll see those guys step up. You'll also see Jace Brown as the team's number 1 stepping in. And he'll be on the scouting report. He'll have a target on his back, but I think Jace Brown's the type of dude that's ready for that moment. So that is my first storyline. How will the receiving core look? And you can even group in the tight end. Obviously, you're losing Ben Sinnott to the NFL, but you have a guy in Garrett Oakley that I am stupid high on. I am excited to see Oak step on the field and see him kind of as the team's primary starter. Also, you've got Will Swanson, who I should mention as well, but I'm stoked. I'm excited. That is my first storyline to follow. Number 2, this one's a little interesting. How will the new look secondary fare? Now, yeah, these questions aren't going to be answered immediately in spring ball. I mean, this is stuff that's going to be there and people are going to question it the entire season, but K-State is replacing a couple dudes in that secondary across both corner position and the safety position. So obviously the big one is you lose Kobe Savage. You lose him to Oregon, enters the portal. That sucks. It is what it is. K-State goes out and gets Jordan Riley, a Ball State transfer who's really seeming to hit the ground running with his leadership and communication. I mean, if you saw on social media the guys donating, I forget what it was off the top of my head. It was a Valentine's Day gift for one of the local elementary schools. I thought that was pretty sweet. And I think he's going to have a lot of success. I mean, he's a guy that can really take over a game if you watch some of his game film. And I think his leadership is the biggest thing. You're losing with Kobe Savage. Jordan Riley feels like a guy that can hit the ground running and have success. At the corner position, you lose a guy like Will Lee. Yeah, Will Lee wasn't great for us, but he's gone. So it's another starter that's a big-bodied guy out of the system. So then you question what's going to happen. And K-State actually had a little bit of that answer come to fruition the other day. So we saw the return of Keenan Garber, who switched from receiver to corner 2 seasons ago, heading into the Big 12 championship, had a full season at cornerback last year, and actually was really, really good down the stretch. If you didn't see Keenan Garber show up in the stat sheet, he really did have some good stuff down the stretch. So I think he's going to be a big part of this team going forward, as well as a guy like Kobe McAllister, who I expect to be working in the slot. If you made me choose right now, I think you're going to see, obviously you're going to see Jordan Riley at the jack safety position. You'll see VJ Payne at the strong safety position, and Marquise Siegel at free. Then for the cornerbacks, you'll probably see a combination of Jacob Parrish and Keenan Garber on the outside with Kobe McAllister in the slot. That would be the next pick, I would say. But there's a couple of guys that might rotate in and get some more minutes. So something to follow for sure. That is my second storyline for the upcoming season. Number 3, this is one that I've talked about on the channel a little bit. How much pressure can the defensive line generate? Because last season, I know we had a lot of defensive woes in the secondary. We had a lot of issues. A lot of that in my eyes stemmed from not getting to the quarterback. I mean, we weren't great at getting to the quarterback. Khalid Duke had a couple of big plays. Brendan Mott had some good pass rushes. You had some stuff from Nate Matlack as well. That guy's gone. Matlack's out the door. Obviously, he was a different scheme, but K-State brings in a guy like Travis Bates, a freshman All-American. You bring in a guy like Malcolm Alcorn Crowder, who's going to be a big deal, and then you get Uso on another year. You get Brendan Mott back, Cody Stuffle being back, who many thought was going to leave and enter the portal, but you've got some veteran guys there, you've got some young guys there. I'm excited to see how guys like Chidi Obiizer and guys like Jordan Allen fit the scheme, where they're ones that just worked all offseason. We didn't see much. We didn't get to see him really at all last season. You saw some moments from a guy like Toby O, who I think has transitioned more to a full-time defensive end position rather than linebacker, but it'll be interesting to see how this D-line group handles themselves. I'm really excited, but I think Malcolm Alcorn-Crowder is going to be a massive name to follow. Travis Bates the same. That big-bodied defensive lineman, 6'5", 6'6", 260, that's a big deal for K-State, and I think the defensive line is going to be a lot better in the upcoming season. Next one. What will our offensive line look like? Obviously, the quick thing here is you're losing Cooper Beebe, who's an All-American guy, has been a cornerstone of the offensive line for years. You're losing Cooper Beebe. You're losing KT Leviston. You're losing Christian Duffy. You're losing a lot of guys across the board that started last year and had some reliable experience, but you do return a guy like Carver Willis. You return Taylor Portier, who alternated starts with Hadley Panzer as well. You've got some of these guys coming back in that have experience in Big 12 play, as well as some young guys. Like, you've seen Sam Hecht get a ton of love. You've seen Andrew Langyang be talked about. There's a lot of different guys behind the scenes maybe that have kind of been put into the starting lineup or into the limelight at K-State the past couple of years. Now you're starting to see those guys step forward. You got a guy like Easton Kitley from North Dakota in the transfer portal. That's going to be a big one to follow. I think your O-line spot will look something like Easton Kitley, probably left tackle, protecting Avery Johnson's blind side. Left guard, you've probably either got Hadley Panzer or Taylor Portier. I think Portier will probably be on the right side, but I'd go probably Hadley Panzer. Then right tackle, you're going to have Carver Willis. Center is going to be a question mark. I don't know who's going to be in there, if that'll be Langyang, if that'll be Hecht, whatever the case is. There's going to be a couple of different dudes that can step in there. So Hadley Panzer, I think, also has some experience at center, so that's something to follow there. But the K-State O-line is going to be something to follow, especially like just the dominance they've had over the previous seasons. That is my fourth storyline to follow. I also should mention this because I haven't had an opportunity yet. Prior to this, I am over the moon excited about a guy like Caden Massey. 6'8", 280 as a true freshman. If you get that true Carroll workout in, this dude is going to be unbelievable for years to come as a tackle, as wherever you want to put him on the O-line. If you look at pictures of the kid online, he's playing in Linden, Kansas, where I think it's 8-man football unless I'm crazy. The dude stands above everybody, towers above everybody. That is going to be a dog. You've got a guy like Gus Hawkins from Mill Valley. You've got Camden Beebe and a lot of really great O-linemen. I should also mention Ryan Howard. The future of this O-line is bright, and we might even see some younger guys than we expect step on the field this season, so it'll be something to follow for sure. My fifth and final storyline for K-State football ahead of the upcoming season: can the Wildcats capitalize on the momentum? Let's be honest. Oklahoma's gone. Texas is gone. These guys aren't here to – I don't want to do the whole run the conference because neither of them really were that great. I mean, Oklahoma had some wins, but Texas was Texas. I mean, they were just in the middle of the pack forever until this past season. Oklahoma, K-State has kind of owned the past couple of years, so I don't want to make that sound that way, but K-State has an opportunity to now be the front-runner of front-runners in the Big 12. Like, yes, Utah fans step in and think they're going to win 10 games, be the best team of all time. Yes, Arizona fans think a similar thing. Yeah, you've got KU fans who think they're going to go to a college football playoff. Like, everybody thinks this. K-State has the ability to make it a reality, not just a dream that we could hope to get to. You've got the right defense. You've got the right offense. You've got the right quarterback. We all know that. How is this team going to capitalize off that momentum? Because you've got a new O-line, you've got a new defensive line, you've got new faces all over. It's going to be about leadership, because you see when teams don't have leadership, sometimes that absolutely takes precedence over everything. Like, you can have really, really talented players but lack a leader, and that's where the issue is. So a guy like Avery Johnson is going to have to step up and be your vocal leader. You're going to have guys on the defensive side of the ball as well. Like, obviously, Austin Moore is one that talks a lot. We've heard about that from a couple of different interviews on the channel. Austin Moore feels like a guy that's going to have to even improve his leadership beyond what it is this season. Whoever's in that linebacker room, Des Purnell might be that guy. Jordan Riley, the transfer, might be that guy. VJ Payne stepping up into a leadership role. That's going to be something. But I think you'll see Marquise Siegel kind of do that as well. So it's going to be about developing leaders on top of talent. That's what I think for K-State. But those are my 5 storylines to follow heading into spring football for K-State. Number 1, how much separation can the receivers create? What's that group going to look like? What will the new secondary do? How will they look? The new faces with Jordan Riley, with a guy like Kobe McAllister getting some more minutes, Keenan Garber in another season with K-State. That's a storyline to follow. How much pressure can this new defensive line generate? Travis Bates, got to see him. Big Mac, got to see him. Malcolm Alcorn-Crowder. Some of the guys coming back for their next season, they're just going to need to put on some weight. I mean, Cody Stufflebean's going to put on weight. Brendan Mott's going to put on some weight. How will these dudes look? There's going to be a lot of stuff to follow there. The offensive line, we'll see a mixture of 5 or 6 dudes, maybe even 7 dudes that Riley rolls with this season, so it'll be something there. And lastly, can K-State capitalize on the momentum? That is going to be the question, folks, and I'm excited to talk about it. We'll likely have some more top 5 content because I've really enjoyed this kind of quick-hitting stuff that just What comes to the mind, go with it. So that's kind of what we want to talk about in today's video. But I hope you're all doing well. I hope it is a beautiful day wherever you're at, and I will talk to you in the next one. Go Cats.